Kind of awkward with no music. I'm just going to say.
I know. I'm just going to say, I'm having some internet woes here today and some speaker woes, and I'm connected to my AirPods, which means I can't push the sound to there. So even tech people have tech problems sometimes. All right, girls, ready? What do you think? Ready to get going? We've got our group is building. If you have the ability to put your camera on, we would love to see your faces. Today, if this is your first summer of Shift, welcome. You are joined by me. I am Brooke Silva, your regional technology trainer. And depending on where they are on your screen, but I've got Tiffany to my left. I've got Jen Bovey to my right. Jen, why don't you introduce yourself and who you are, and then Tiffany can.
Well, good afternoon, friends. I am Jen Bovey, the area director for the New England region. I am also an operating principal in Rhode Island for Keller Williams Coastal. So thank you for having me on your shift calls.
Yes, and I am Tiffany Hampton. I am the regional productivity coach.
All right, let's get it started. How many of you, this is your first time or you are a long-time listener with us through the whole series? Put it in the chat. We want to know if you've been here from the beginning. Well, welcome. We love seeing that. All right. So we are already on. Woof. Hold on, my computer is having a mental breakdown. There we go.
Before we get started, for our first time guests, where can they find the recordings?
Absolutely. I will get those links up here in just a minute, but everything we do is recorded at the region. KW New England has a YouTube page where within 24 to 48 business hours, everything is pulled through. You can replay it. And we also have a Facebook group that I'll put the link in for where you can go ahead and follow along when everything goes in there. It's also a great place to mastermind with other agents who are here in the shift room with you. All right, ready?
Let's do this. So today we are tackling Tactic 10, Financial Solutions, and Tactic 11, Distressed Properties. All right. So the first step is 3 concepts of Tactic 10. What sellers can do in a changing market, what buyers can do in a changing market, and what lenders can do in a changing market. I always like to take a minute and find out who was with us during the previous downturn market. And go ahead and put that in the chat. Nobody? Amy Sheehan says not. Okay. So when a market shifts, what ends up happening is the conversations we have change depending on who we're talking to. So we need to look at alternative options depending on what the desired outcome is of our customers and clients' needs. So
I loved this. So I read Shift for the first time 2 years ago as part of something we were doing. And this is the thing, like out of all the book, this is what's stuck in the nerd brain, right? This acronym has stayed with me when talking about buyer motivation or why they can't get lending. So do you know what this is?
So what is the IAC, not to be confused with the ICA?
And you can put it in chat or you can come off of me. Do you know what these 3 things are? Are they brand new and you haven't seen them and you want to guess? You can make up your own words.
All right, Brooke, I think they're going to need a little bit of our help.
Today they need our help. Well, guys, this is...
Oh, I allow cookies.
I think that's a good... Yes, I'm not smart enough today. So this is what this means. It's income, it's assets, and it's credit. And when buyers are having a difficulty getting financing for a home purchase, it's usually due to one or more of these. It could be all, or it could be one of them.
So when buyers are having difficulty with their mortgage, right? What impact is the income piece? What impact is the asset piece, right? So when we look at income, you tell us right in the chat, like what could be some of the issues that come up with income? I see ratios, absolutely. A lot of it's ratios. What are some other opportunities around income?
Variability. So that's an interesting one. William, dig a little deeper on that one, variability. Do you mean length? Self-employed. That's a big one. New employment.
And now we're getting there. Just starting a new job, salary versus hourly versus commissions.
Right,
Not
1099.
Yeah.
Or how about sudden changes to a different career? Right? What if you have a complete different, like you all of a sudden you were a bartender for 10 years and now you are a real estate agent. So you're out of your field. You're out of your field completely. Self-employed for real estate agents. Exactly. 1099s.
Yep. And then the A is assets. So what could be problems around assets? One of the answers is right. Not liquid, not liquid. Them. Absolutely.
Loans on assets, right? And Tiffany, you and I were talking about this morning, what was in the last few years, what was the big lever to having less assets?
Well, we were talking about the forbearance, right?
We were. And what's causing a lot of these things, right? It was the pandemic.
Yeah. And when we look at, yeah. So when we look at assets, you know, and this is where, again, we need to be knowledgeable enough to have an intelligent conversation, and yet we're not the expert of the conversation, correct? So we just need to know enough to ask questions around, what do your assets look like? And a question that we would not have asked in January of 2020 would have been, have you requested a forbearance? That would not have been a question that we asked previously. And now that's a question. Who knows what a forbearance is? I just throw that word out there like folks know what that is. What is a forbearance?
Hold on, I want to read out loud something that Susan just put in. She said, prepare your buyer that the lender will dig deep into this. And I just love that. Because again, we are not mortgage lenders or the different people who will be digging into these. So I love that you put that in there. And Susan also wrote mortgage payment delayed. It allows the homeowner, David said, the homeowner to defer payments.
Right. And not all forbearances are created equally, and they're not all done the same way. So again, you ask the question and then you direct them to the expert that's going to support them on that. When it comes to assets, what's in their savings account? Do they have enough for a down payment? Do they have enough for the closing costs? Some buyers realize, hey, I need a down payment, but they don't even take into consideration that there might be closing costs.
Or a gap that they have to come up with, appraisal gap, right? There's
Exactly.
all these things.
And then the final one is C for credit. And this is the one that we're probably the most familiar with. You know, did they miss a payment? What is their ratios, income to debt ratios? Are they leveraged with debt? You have this reality check on the bottom that you came up with. What is that all about?
So we know that consumers are overloaded with messages every day, right? We've talked about this when it comes to us being the real estate experts, hyper local experts, because what the news says may not always trickle down to what's going on in our local community. Same thing's going to happen with credit repair. I swear, the moment you type in credit repair to your browser, you're going to get 600 ads on different platforms of people promising to fix your credit overnight if you pay a fee. Credit repair, there's a lot of misinformation about that. So counsel them to speak with the lenders before paying for any type of credit repair services, because we don't know what they qualify for. And there's always going to be programs and different things that our mortgage lenders know about. So make sure you've got a mortgage lender who really understands that part and counsel them on what they could do to change their credit score. Because it's not about always going off and paying everything off, right? So just make sure that you're working with your lenders on that.
Right. And some lenders will actually tell you, don't pay that off. Do not close that account. And your credit repair person may do it anyway. So having that information is very important. So what can sellers do in a changing market? We have some common ones here: seller contributions or concessions. What is that? A seller contribution or concession? What are some ways that that shows up in a transaction?
What's a concession? Could be closing costs.
Yep.
What else besides closing costs can it be?
I think of a condo, right? What does it look like if the seller, and then this happened in the 2008 to 2013 market, sellers were more than willing to pay for a year's worth of oil. Sellers were more than willing to pay a year's worth of condo association fees, right? So there's opportunity for the seller to make contributions to make the loan easier to take.
Yep. And then there's a couple in the chat points. We've talked about seller paying down points and leaving some items. Yep. Title V, some seller paid for home warranty. We didn't see we didn't see contributions or concessions in the last year. It was fast, right, guys? It was not something that we had to bring up. They were almost laughable items. If you were bringing something where there was concessions, we had this fear that things were not going to get, that your offer was not going to get chosen.
And this next one is my favorite one: seller buy downs. Why would seller buy downs in a market that we're in right now with the changes that we have experienced? Why would seller buy downs be so important? And I love to hear voices. Feel free to hop off and, okay, Stephen, interest rates.
Yep, interest.
So right now we're at high interest rates at a whopping 5+6%, right? Back in the day, that was nothing, just for the record. And yet that could impact the ability of a buyer to purchase a house because the interest rate may be 0.25% too high or 0.5% too high. So a seller can actually buy down the rate on behalf of the buyer.
And this last one, owner financing. How many of you have had an owner financing deal? I don't think in the last 2 years somebody could shake their head yet. I haven't seen it. Unless it's part of a family deal, but who has seen it? And if from your first house, Mary, but was that in the last 2 years? Nope.
You know, the only seller financing I saw in the past couple of years was on land.
Yeah. It was a balloon interest only loan.
So
Now,
creative
here's
things.
some of
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, you do.
Creative things buyers can do to buy a home, right? So what if they don't have enough for their down payment? What if they need to bring more money to the table because the property didn't appraise and this is their forever dream home. What are some of the options that we could take advantage of? Go ahead, Brooke.
Well, I think family members, right? We are seeing so many people where their parents are co-signing on loans, or if they've taken out certain things against their 401ks. There are option lenders. There are also co-borrowing. But what we really wanted to point out in this slide is that the reality, and lease options, right? Lease backs, there's all kinds of things going on. The tax laws constantly change. And this is one of those things where we just want to tread lightly and work with the professionals on this one, because financial and tax professionals are the people who are going to know the right way to steer your clients and to make sure that all parties involved, especially in a family member, right, that everybody is protected when it comes to income and assets, such as taking out something as large as a mortgage with someone, because people stay together forever, right?
And ever and ever and ever.
Some people
right?
do, not all.
Right. They do, but there are still so many little things that can go wrong in those things. So make sure that you are working with professionals. William just put in a hard money loan as well. I saw a couple of people's faces go. But there are situations during the shift that are going to call for some of these things. And it's important that we all know about the different options available, and that our lenders and our financial partners know about all these options that are available, so that we are making sure we are doing our due diligence and getting our clients into the homes. These are some of the things your mortgage people can do. Our lenders have a wealth of information. Just like we're here getting trained constantly, our lenders are always doing their CEs and staying up to date on what's changing and all the different programs for the government or bonded. There's also sometimes regional grants or different RDs. Who's in New Hampshire, right? Like New Hampshire, based on where you live, there's also some different lending guidelines. And I know those exist everywhere. I grew up in a New Hampshire market center, so that's the one that's most familiar. And then Tiffany and I were talking about this one a lot too. They can resubmit loan applications through different programs. And I think sometimes when we use the word resubmit, people get really nervous about their credit, right? But a good lender is going to help navigate that. And they're going to explain, yes, New Hampshire housing grants, Susan, thank you so much. But they're going to help your buyer figure out what your buyer needs to do and counsel them to make sure that they're getting the correct loan. Tiff, you have anything you want to add on that for the regional grants?
Yeah, just keep in mind that every state and every area has grants that many people don't know about. So when you're looking at who you're speaking to with lenders, there are some lenders that are more aware of that, and you want to make sure you have a good arsenal.
Absolutely. That brings us perfect to our next slide, because it's who is your financing team, right? You have to have a team of not only financing experts, but finance and tax experts. If you're not dipping into those mortgage education classes they're putting out, highly recommend sitting for them. Most of them are CEs as well, so you get that credit for going. They're there to help you serve your clients as well. You want someone who's going to serve your clients just as much as you will, and they're experts in the field. They have to be absolute experts in the field. So that asks, how many lender relationships do you have? We've all got that one. We know that. We've all got that one that we just adore. But how many vendor relationships do you have right now? If you could name a mortgage person who you're in relationship with, put the number in the chat. 3 solid. 3, 4. Let me tell you, our mortgage friends, they always want to take you out for coffee. Take advantage of it and take advantage of other classes. I challenge you by December to have 5 that you can name. You could rattle off their phone number. You could rattle off their email, and you know what they do, right? So we all know that mobile homes cannot be traditionally financed depending on the year, the land. There's all these little things, right? So do you have a mobile home expert? Do you someone who's in credit unions versus banking? Do you have people who are also versed in commercial or how to bridge loans, or who are super residential experts and can get any loan bought, right? Hit that 5. Hit that 5. So that way the clients, when they're sitting in front of you, your buyers, you give them the options and we can get those loans through for them. Tiffany, how many lender relationships do you have?
I have
so many.
I know. I have 5 solid, 1 in each of the categories. Because not every borrower is equal. So I may need a credit union, I may need a bank, I may need a mortgage broker, I may need a regular loan officer, right? And you as the agent really need to understand and know what each one of those lenders can do for you and your client.
Absolutely. And they need to communicate the way we need to be communicated with too, right? Are they going to pick up the phone if this deal is falling apart at 8 o'clock at night with you, right? What are the things they're going to do to make sure that your deals stay together? And do they have the expertise? And don't forget, we've got Keller Mortgage, guys. At the bottom of every one of your websites is the link. They can see all the different information provided. It's just a great way to look at the calculators as well at the bottom of every property page that's on our KW website and app. So 10's kind of cool. This is the part of shift that sounds a little negative, but honestly, as we go into a shift, things can get negative for some people. As we dip into 11, we may go over some things now that sound pessimist, but this is reality, and we're here to be guided advisors and have an empathy when these situations do come up. So if you did pre-read and you did get through, all the parts of 11, there may be some terms that you haven't heard before, or if you've been in this world for a while, you've lived through some of these. So we'll get right into tactic 11.
This is where my PTSD comes out.
Yeah.
Just saying. So essentially, when we look at concept 11, 2008 to 2013, short sales, foreclosures, and REOs took over the market, right? And yet in this market, short sales, foreclosures, and REOs are going to look a little bit different for numerous reasons. What was the increase in home values over the last 2 years, right? So there's more equity in homes today than when we did the great recession of the 2008 era, right? So when we look at these, there's still potentials based on the conversation that we started when we talked about forbearance, and yet the conversation we're going to have with our clients and how the transaction may happen will look different, right? So short sales, those are homeowners that owe more for the house than the market will allow. And when we look at today's market, are we seeing values decrease
or increase? Put in the chat. What do you think? Are they going up or down?
Increase.
Right? So a short sale, we may be talking to people about doing a distressed sale before they are quote unquote foreclosed on, but it may not be a short sale, right? Because they may have done a forbearance, and that forbearance, they now owe $28,000 on top of what their monthly payment is. And they have equity on it. So they could still walk away, right? A foreclosure, that means that the bank is taking the property back. You haven't sold the property. You haven't paid your bills, and they want the property. And real estate owned means the bank has taken it over. It did not sell it at auction. And now they have a piece of property as part of their inventory. What else do you want to add on that?
This is all about empathy at this point. Sometimes when people reach out to you at this stage and they know they're missing payments, that they are in distress. This is the time where empathy is going to matter in this situation, and we help them in this situation. This is embarrassing. This is difficult. COVID changed a lot of people's jobs, where they live. Life just changed. So while Tiffany was saying equity may save some of these distressed, the market of the moment in these chapters taps into these three things. But I just want to make sure that the emotional, social part of the empathy involved in this is super important. And it's a lot of hard work, and the things we're going to talk about, you should be certified to do some of these things. So if you are interested in this, dig into what is local and going on for you for certifications, because you should not just jump into any of these pieces, because it if you don't know what you're doing, one, it could be a compliance nightmare for you. But there are so many rules that let's get you the education you need so you can make an informed decision if this is going to take you out of your legion. Karina.
I had, like, before the market shifted, I had buyers who were on that bubble where they were going to be like missing payments on their homes. So when property values went up, I still kept in touch with them. I just called them and said, this is the time. This is a time to sell. We can sell and get money in your pocket. So I was able to get like 3 clients from, they couldn't sell, they couldn't buy, they couldn't do anything. So, and I was able to like get them out. So, it's just not putting them aside saying I can't help them, because you don't know if you can or when you can. Because I didn't think I was going to be able to help these 3, but I helped them.
I love that. And I just want to add to it, Susan put in the chatters, refer them to an agent in your office that can get it done, right? If this is not your area of specialty, if you don't have that designation, if you're not certified, this is definitely the time to work with someone in your market center who has gone through this, who's experienced this before, and can make sure that everything's compliant and to the law, and that it's a win-win for everyone. So what Tiffany was saying before is there's a couple of ways this happens, right? You go in default. You have not paid, 2 payments? Then over time, as they stack up, even if you have forbearance and you're still not paying your payments, foreclosure happens. And then, like Tiffany said, if the bank could not sell it during auction, then it goes on their portfolio, and that's real estate owned. That's what REO stands for, real estate owned. And what Tiffany and I really want to do is change the way we think about the market of the moment tactic. So this tactic is we talked about it, right? It sounds pessimistic, it sounds negative. We've got to know about these things. But what we want to know is what else could be a market of the moment tactic outside of short sales, foreclosures, and REOs. Where are other places into our world you can dip into? And I don't want you guys to think this is a negative place, because everybody needs to make a move at some point, and that's what we're here for. So in the chat or come off of mute, let's talk about how we change the market of the moment tactic. And don't all flood me at once. I can't handle it today. The rain is addling my brain. But what else? What else can we dip into?
Well, let's just stay on the subject of people. The last 2 years have really impacted people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And when COVID first hit, we did a lot of conversations around the check-in. How are you? How are things going? How is employment, right? Is now the time to reach back out and say, where are things at? How can you be supported, right? Because there is an opportunity. Nobody wants to have those hard conversations around the fact that, you know what, I am one paycheck away from being able to pay my mortgage, and it's starting to stress me out, right? So when you look at changing the market of the moment, coming from contribution, and I will start this conversation to get you guys thinking about what we should be having conversations around. And yet there are health conditions, right? There's cancer. There are, I can go on and on. There are autoimmune diseases like we've never seen before that are really affecting people. So how do we find out these situations so that they don't become a statistic of this market of the moment, right? How do we figure out, so you have cancer or you have an autoimmune that's debilitating you and you're not able to take care of your home? Is there another opportunity? Should you be renting right now so you don't have to worry about that? How can we cash in on the amazing equity opportunity that has happened over the last 2 years? And regardless of whether your prices have gone down, we're still in upswing of what it was pre-January of 2020, right? So what does it look like? Let's sell your home, get you into a rental, and now you have an emergency fund. Now you have the money to pay your bills where you could take a year off of work, right? Those are the conversations. And let me tell, if you become a hero in their world, you will be their agent for life. You will be their person for life. And when they think of, somebody says, hey, I have this situation, you have to talk to my realtor and let me tell you what they did for me, right? And now we're totally circumventing the fact that they ever have to deal with an attorney, or they ever have to deal with a bank, or they ever have to pick up a certified piece of mail. Those are the things that we really want to focus on, because we can change people's lives.
Are we still making those care calls? I think that was one of the best things to come out of the pandemic, was just the amount of relationships we went back into building. It put us in front of our people in a way they weren't expecting. They were expecting us to try to get them to sell their home during a pandemic. And instead we changed the conversation. So how are you, right? Are we using Ford? Are we finding out if their dreams are different? Is their retirement now different? Do they have life changes? People got together, people changed their living situations. Are we staying up to date on what's going on in their personal lives? And how are we doing that? Because the market of the moment for me is going to be a different market of the moment for Tiffany. We're at different life stages. We have different goals. Same thing with many of us here. So how can we change the conversation? And how do we get in front of our clients in a way that they know we're there to support them through their market of the moment? Starts picking up the phone and caring.
I mean, you just have to pick up the phone. You really do. People want you to call them.
They really do.
And letting them know that whatever they tell you is confidential, because this is scary for a lot of people. And even starting out off a conversation with, how is the change in food prices and electricity and fuel? How's that going to impact you this winter when oil is going to be $8 a gallon? Are you guys prepared for that? How can I help you? What's your household look like right now?
Programs.
I don't think there's been a time in history that has been where people have felt as alone as they feel today.
Right. Especially those who don't have the access to the internet or the Zooms or the ability to go into offices, right? We talk about this a lot, that, I get to see your faces every day, but I don't get to physically see your faces in person. What a difference when we get into the same room with one another. Same thing with our clients. Are you doing pop buys? Are you still doing the small touches that make sure you stay in front and that people know you care, right? Are we doing equity analysis? Who knows what a pair is? Have you ever heard that term? Except at Right Chicken's Farm, that's right. Just ran into me at a big restaurant in Rhode Island. Right? So they have a personal equity analysis report. It's just a shallow, this could be a range of what the equity in your home is. If do you want to build a pool? Do you need an extension? Do you need a first floor master bedroom? Right? Building value in different ways.
And let's get off the negative side of the world and look at the fact that there hasn't been so much equity as there is today, right? So to your pair point, how can we help them build wealth? Is that the market of the moment, supporting people to build more wealth?
Have you ever thought of investing your equity? You know, if you know from doing the engaging posts that you're doing from the growth call, if they said, you know, would you rather have a lake house or an ocean home? Well, guess what? Now is the best time to try to use your equity, right? And get that.
I think this is a great opportunity to, number one, come from contribution, and number two, change people's lives like we've never been able to change people's lives before. That's the market of the moment for me. All right, so now this is in the book. We're going to cover the book, right? Now, let's just say we do not get in front of them in time and we do not have the conversation, and now they're in default, right? So what that means is the lender has temporarily suspended or reduced the payments, right? And they're in forbearance, and that forbearance is now over. And now they have to come up with their payment plus, and nothing has changed in the personal world. The lender may agree to do a modification of the loan, right? And let's say we did a modification of loan and that didn't work. The lender may agree to do a short sale. And because of the condition of the property or whatever the case may be, that short sale wasn't able to go through. We go to stage two then. Well, let's ask this. What can cause a homeowner to go into default? I think we've covered this, honestly. I think we've kind of went deep into this. So how do agents find homeowners in distress before it's too late? We've talked about the conversations, right? Like I know, and knowing your numbers, it's knowing the numbers. Where's Jen, right? So knowing the numbers, I know there are 813,000 homeowners in the state of Maine. So how do I reach out to as many of those 813,000 homeowners? And how does KW Maine and anyone else who does business in KW in Maine throughout New England, how do they reach out to as many of these Maine homeowners? What other ways? How else can we find people?
You can just put in chat Facebook campaigns.
Yeah, I like that one. Tax and arrears in the public record, right? A network pipeline. You can go to the courthouse. Back in the day, pre-technology, technology wasn't what it was then that it is now. I used to go into the courthouse and ask for, can I have all the files of the defaults that have been, because I didn't want to pay. Like I'm cheap like that. I'm frugal. So I would go to the courthouse and I would make friends with the courthouse and say, who filed the default? And I would pull that and I would have a conversation with the homeowner. So you can absolutely do that now.
I think too, one of the ways we got to talk about it before it happens, right? Preventative maintenance on our database. Right? If you know someone, we have the tools to help. Reach out to them.
All right, Brooke's technology is absolutely failing her today. So I am going to jump in with Tiffany and close us out here for the next 20 minutes or so. So let's finish this up, Tiffany.
All right, so stage two is foreclosure. None of those work. They're now in foreclosure. You still have the ability to save your home, and yet the bank and the attorneys are moving towards an auction to sell the property. And during this time, people will bid on the home and it will either sell or it will not sell. And then if it doesn't sell, we go into stage three. So REOs, real estate owned properties is where the property is at auction and nobody buys it. And yet in today's market, what do we have an overabundance of? Investors, right? So when we look at these, who do you know that would invest in real estate if the opportunity came up? And how could you support that home seller or that homeowner by finding an investor to purchase that property either before auction or at auction?
Well, and I think the goal here too is there's 46 of us on this call today that are potential investors as well. So
Yep.
we are added on to that list. And if that's something that you want to get towards, I would put that, the separate conversation, put that on your goal sheet, on your 411 or whatever you use to hit your goals. But we are investors too, as a side note.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Brooke. So stage 3, real estate owned. This is where a lot of us think that it's fantastic. I'll list an REO home. There's so many steps to listing an REO home. And it isn't like you call the bank and say, hey, can I list your property, right? There's steps that you have to follow. There's platforms that charge. So as much as it sounds like a wonderful thing to do, REOs as a listing agent are not that easy to come by. And when there's not a significant amount of them, there may not be the opportunity you're looking for. So staying on the side of the investor or being the investor yourself is the opportunity that you have. So this is the last paragraph says, so before you put too much time and effort towards pursuing these opportunities, right? Be sure you know what you're doing, because there are platforms out there and they charge you $2,000 a year to be even thought of as a foreclosure agent and an REO agent. And then when you become an REO agent, it takes all of 5 minutes to lose the opportunity because you did something that the bank, didn't like, or whatever the case may be. So if you're going to do it, make sure you get certified, make sure you know what you're doing, and really look at the fact, just like, and Jen, I'm sure you did as well. I used to tell buyers all the time, like, it sounds like a great idea to buy a property 80 cents on a dollar or 50 cents on a dollar. And yet when you're done with all the time and money that you're putting into it, was it really worth it? That's the same conversation here for our agents, right? It may look wonderful. And yet at the end of the day, are you green or red when it comes to the money that you put into it?
Absolutely. And the note on here to take courses, one of the great things about Keller Williams is that we have courses within KW to teach you at a high level on how to, if REO is the direction you want to focus, either yourself as an investor or yourself as an agent working with investors, I highly suggest you go take the course that Keller Williams puts out for the REOs. I believe it's Christina Griffin. I could be wrong on that name. One of my agents here in coastal Rhode Island took the course and has had nothing but great things to say about it. And her business is increasing because of the knowledge that she got from that course. Now, I'll say it's the knowledge. They're not going to give you lists of REOs to just go list. They're going to give you the knowledge on how to do it. So if this is something that really interests you, go do your due diligence, research it, and take the courses.
Yep. I like what Laura put. Dumpsters are a great clue. Have a listing hopefully coming that a dumpster was in my invite to introduce myself, right?
That's so funny because I actually have a dumpster in front of my house right now. I am not moving. I'm doing a fall clean out at my house. So please don't knock on my door. I'm not moving. I'm just cleaning my house.
Well, and the other part of that, like, is there grass overgrown? If it's wintertime, is there driveway covered in snow, right? Like, what are the outside things that you're looking at? And then we wanted a mailbox overflowing. I love that. So the next thing we want to talk, what are other market of the moment opportunities, right? Because yes, short sales and financial issues, but what other life events could cause people to move forward and list their house?
Estates, like Laura just put in the chat.
Yep.
divorce, death, baby. These are absolutely all different ways that people would need to or could need to list or buy. Job change,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Yeah. You know, someone had put in the chat earlier that like they're newer to the business, right? So, and that this content may be too much ahead of them. And yet this part here, this may be where you get your first piece of business or your second piece of business, depending on where you are, right? If you're out there looking for the market of the moment and talking to people and saying, hey, I just did this great class that talked about X, Y, and Z. I would love to be someone's hero or whatever word you want to use for that. Do you know anyone that may be going through a financial situation that I should be talking to and supporting them and helping them? We will both be their hero, right?
Tiffany, I don't know if you do, I'm putting you on the spot here, but do you have that one pager that you showed us yesterday on the growth call?
Yes, I will pull it up. Way
At the end of this, why don't we share that with them? Because I thought that was such a powerful flyer, for a lack of better terms, to really indicate what's happening right now. So maybe we could show that at the end.
Okay.
All right, Brooke.
So Brooke texted us.
Oh.
Let's get on.
You are too staticky. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You are on mute. Brooke hates this. This is like her nightmare to be muted in life. You'll be okay. We'll send you a gift. Okay, Brooke, you'll be okay. All right. Is there any other slide we could go to? No, this is it. Okay.
Okay.
Tiffany, why don't we share that slide that you have with everybody?
Yeah.
Who sabotaged Brooke? That's Stephen. You're right. Somebody did this. Who did it to her? Raise your hand. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Tiffany, with this.
So at Mega Camp, there was this shirt that said, the path is in the math, right? And so this is a story that Tiffany needs to hear a lot of, because everywhere I turn around, I'm getting the path is in the math. So essentially, someone had shared this playbook with me, and in the playbook, it says it's just math, right? There are 332 million people in the United States, give or take. I'm sure it's changed a little bit, of which 65.6% are homeowners. 2021 existing home sales was 6.1 million, which meant only 2.79% of existing homeowners sold their house. For those that don't math, that means 97.21% did not sell their home. So what can you do, right? It comes back to the
Can you
conversation.
repeat that? How many people didn't sell their home?
97.21%.
97.21%. Now, Brooke put that in there fast, but I will tell you, it took her about 5 minutes yesterday to figure that calculation out. So we did use this yesterday in our growth call. Yet the little box that's in red bold, what does that say again? Because this is the important piece here. This is what the big aha for today should or could be. What does that say?
Yep. So out of every 100 people in the United States, 3 of those folks are thinking about selling. So for every house sold, there's also a buyer, which means there's 2 transactions. So, and I will share this whole playbook with you guys in the chat, and I'll get it over to Brooke so she could share it. So if you guys did what it says in this playbook, you have the opportunity for 36 sellers and 36 buyers over the course of the next year.
I have a question. How many of you on here have a database of 100 or more? Put your hand up. Okay, each one of you have 3 sales at least in your database. One of the things with this shift conversation we've been having week after week after week is making sure that you're in contact with them purposefully. If you have followed us along, this means every 100 people you will have a minimum of 3 sales. Minimum of 3 sales a year. All right, everybody, open your contacts, your phones. This is the activity portion of the call. Everybody have their phone, take it out. If you're on it, pause your camera, whatever, take that out. I could only do iPhone because I only speak iPhone. I don't know Android. I'm sorry. Don't send me hate mail. I still love you guys if you don't have an iPhone. Go to your contacts, and then hit the number to the right, the number sign on the right, or scroll all the way to the bottom. My iPhone is not playing nice with me today. Tiffany, what do you have?
1,408.
Tiffany, what is that? So if you really were purposeful about your 1,048, how many sales does that attribute for your business?
So I have to math. So
Yep,
hold on
let's
a
do
minute.
this now. Oh, Brooke, of course you have over 2,000. You're popular.
So if it, for every 100, there's 3, that's 42 transactions in my phone right now.
Let's see how many.
42, just one side. That's only one side. That's not if I take the buyer. So that could potentially be 84.
So 42 is like the worst case scenario. How many of you would be okay with that? So if you scroll all the way to the bottom, it says the contact number. So mine says 1,645. I see 271. What else? Let's see. How many do you guys have in your contacts? And the question is, are you purposeful with them? Do those contacts know you're in real estate? Do they remember that? Look at this. 3, Susan, can you come off mute for a second? Oh my goodness, someone beat you. Tara, 5150. Susan, out of your 3681, I know a majority of those are probably other realtors, vendors, people you don't want to talk to at all. You have like the do not answer kind of in there. Out of that number, what is your true number?
I mean, at least half of that is a true number.
So let's say 1,500. Let's just kind of like go lower than that. So
Yeah.
So how many? What are you projected?
Even if it were 1,000, that's amazing.
Right. How many units are you projected to do this year?
70.
That's interesting. So are you using the database at a high level?
No.
Whoa. Whoa.
Uh-oh, who else is on from 463 here?
Well, and let me ask you a question, right? How hard do we work for that cold business when in your data, even if you had 1,000, that's 30 side, one side, that's 30 with the potential of it being 60.
Right.
Like by just building relationships, how hard do you work for that? Or, and this is not the words that I like to use, how much do you pay for those cold opportunities when your database is where it needs to be?
Right.
And all you have to do is talk to them.
Yeah, I don't pay for cold leads at all.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know,
And
Susan,
there's
I don't think
that
you give yourself enough
experience.
credit, because I do think that you probably, because I mean, I've heard you on Ignite many times. I do think that you are a component of working through your database and making it a data bank. Yet I think what it is, the lesson is could we all be doing a little bit better?
Yeah, 100%. That should be that's my one thing.
That's the one thing here, right? Is are we really utilizing our data bank to be our bank? Because out of 100 people in your database, if you are connecting with them at a high level and purposefully, and by the way, it doesn't mean that you have to work overtime, extra, or lose sleep over it to be in contact with them, right, Brooke? Right. Well, I'll just say yes, because we can't unmute her, right? There is a system.
And Brooke's data bank class was very helpful. We did my assistant and I just did that. And if you haven't done it and that's going to be your one thing, you'll get something from it if you spend the time.
Thank you, Susan. I agree. And you don't have to pay
go
for
to
your
it.
leads.
Don't pay.
Don't pay for your leads. Don't sit and wait for your leads either, right? There's a system for you to actually make money off of the people you already know and live the life by design that you want to by being a real estate professional. I think that's the whole aha here.
And let's turn the conversation around, right?
Yeah.
How many people in your database, and don't give me the answer, purchased a house and they didn't use you? And how many of those
The
people?
energy in this whole call, that
I'm
hurt.
telling you. Well, let me finish, because pain makes people move, right? Logic makes you think, right? So when you change that mindset, how many people went onto a website and got an agent that was not as good as you and did not have the experience that they could have had with you, and may have paid more for a house or may have gotten less for a house because they did not use you as their agent?
Yeah, how many of your people in your phone are looking at Zillow and are going to be all right, be a Zillow contact for somebody else that somebody else is paying for? There's most likely at least a few in every one of our contacts that are looking on Zillow.
All right, we got 5 minutes left. I would love to hear ahas. What did you guys get out of this? And don't leave, because we need to pick a winner.
Yeah, we have I believe there is a very good gift basket or some sorts coming to whoever stays on and wins. So what are the ahas for today? Please unmute yourself and let us hear it.
The path,
3 deals for every 100.
That's a big
That's a
one,
good one.
right? I knew it. See,
Huge.
Tiffany? Knew it. That's a huge one. Who said that? I didn't see who unmuted.
That's Dave.
Hi, Dave. That's a really good aha. Thanks for sharing.
and
Who
the
else?
path is in the math is a good one. That's true.
Yep.
Yeah, we didn't make that one up. Maybe Gary Keller did, but I believe whatever he says. Anyone else? Or let's see. Helping those in trouble before they get foreclosed on. That's huge, right? You could be somebody's hero. Like you could change somebody's world by doing that. It's huge.
The
Knowing
reminder,
more lenders. Absolutely.
Amy, what were you gonna say?
Along those same lines, just the reminder of building a team of experts.
Yes. 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 Do you have a team of experts? And by the way, if you do have a team of experts, are they referring people to you? Because they have a data bank as well.
Do they know, especially, let's just talk lenders, builders, inspectors, do they know that 3 out of every 100 people in their database could potentially be considering a move, and they may be missing an opportunity?
Right. You know, one other quick thing before we pick our winner. This is just a perception, and I see this happening so much. So many of our friends, our family, or people that are in our data bank don't necessarily come to us or me or somebody because they say, you know what, I just thought you were too busy. Anybody ever get that other than me? Like, I just thought you were too busy, so I went somewhere else. Make it a point to let them know that you're never too busy for your data bank, for your community, right? So I'm making that a key point because it has been a pain point in my career for, I can't even tell you how many people say, I didn't want to call you because I knew you're too busy. Don't let that happen to you. Make sure you're reaching out, doing those care calls like Susan says all the time, right? Care calls, they want to hear from you. Let them know you're not too busy for them. All right, let's do this.
All right, Brooke, can you pull up what the
Prizes? Can you put it in the chat?
or just put it on the screen?
Ooh, here we go. I
So,
don't know what's in it.
right, put it in the chat, man. Put it in the chat, my friend.
Okay,
Anyway, so let's do drum roll. Who's the winner?
I'm looking. Tiffany or Dean? Ordy?
Hello, Tiffany.
Woohoo. Please tell me your last name because I'm very
It's
famous for butchering last names.
It's Ordilly.
Or Dilly, thank you. Congratulations, Tiffany. You are
Thank
the
you.
winner of our Summer of Shift Basket. We will get that out to you and Brooke will connect with you. So congratulations. Thank you for being on our call. And yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, it's great.
All right,
Awesome.
guys. Thank you
and
so
we'll
much.
see you next week.
Bye. You don't love being muted. You so lie.
Thank you, ladies. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Karen. You
Bye.
too. Bye. Poor Brooke.
I know. She's never been so quiet. Poor Brooke. All
right,
right,
bye,
have a
Jeff.
great day, everybody.
Bye.